Hey, what's up guys? I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain, and today I'm here with the Axial LED headlights with daytime running lights and amber turn signals fitting your 1997 to 2018 Wrangler TJ and JK. This is going to be for the Jeep owner that is looking for a very affordable set of LED headlights with halos to make those nighttime drives a little more enjoyable. This is a great upgrade for any Wrangler owner, whether you are trail riding or just cruising the streets. These high-powered LED lights are sealed in a tough housing and a lot brighter than your stock halogens. These feature a dual-function halo that acts as a white ring for your daytime running lights and amber when you activate your turn signals. These are DOT and SAE approved, keeping you legal and safe on the street. These come complete as a kit with everything needed to install, including all of those adapters and harnesses that you will need. Now, these are very reasonably priced on the site as far as these LED headlights go, and at just around $130, this is not only going to be your most affordable option, but honestly, in my opinion, it's one of the best looking. Now, as far as install goes, I am going to give this 1 out of 3 wrenches, as you can install this in about an hour using basic hand tools. Now, with that being said, let's hop into the install. Tools required for this install: a test light, wire crimpers and snips, T15 Torx, an 11mm wrench, and some electrical tape. All right, so to begin this installation, the first thing we're gonna do is start at the front of the Jeep. You're gonna have these little bezels on the TJ, and they're gonna have 3 screws in them. We're gonna use a T15 Torx so we can remove those 3 screws. We'll pull these bezels off so we can access the headlights. After you get those 3 screws out, we're gonna pull this bezel out. So now we have that bezel off, the next thing we're gonna do is remove this other bezel that holds our headlight in. We're gonna use that same T15 Torx, and you're gonna have 3 screws on the outside. And then you wanna place a hand on the headlight when you take that last screw out, because it will fall out. We're going to pull the light out and unplug it from our plug. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. 3 screws for the bezel. And then 4 screws for the headlight. So before we get these brand new lights installed from Axial, I just want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about what they're made of, what they're going to do for your Jeep, and how they compare to your stock ones. Now, the stock ones are a sealed beam and they're a halogen light. These halogen lights do not produce a very bright white light, and not only that, but they run very hot and they draw a lot of power to operate. LEDs are going to run a lot brighter, and they also use a lot less electricity, up to 65% less usage, which is going to give your alternator a little bit of a break from powering all these lights up. Now, your low beam is about 3,600 lumens, and your high beam is about 5,400. These have a built-in dual-function halo. This halo is going to light up white for your running lights, and it's going to flash orange for your turn signals. Now, these are sealed in a rugged housing. They have a polycarbonate lens, which is going to be very scratch-resistant and protect those internals. And the back of the housing is made from aluminum. This is black powder-coated. So this whole thing is going to be very corrosion-resistant. It's all sealed up nice and tight, so it's not going to build any condensation or moisture. Now, these are designed to be a direct bolt in, and they come with harnesses to install. So these are going to work for JKs, they're also going to work for TJs. We do have to do some wiring to get these halos to power up, as we're going to tap into our running lights and our turn signals. However, this whole thing is relatively easy to install. So with all of that being said, let's show you how these get installed and what they look like on the Jeep. So the first thing we're going to do with our hood open is we're going to feed these lights and this harness through. We're going to pass this through, and we're going to seat these in. Now, you're going to have some writing on the bottom here. You're going to also have a large bubble. This bubble is going to be on the bottom. These headlights only go in one way, so you can't really put them in backwards. After we do that, we're going to put our retaining ring back on, and you're going to have 2 of these close holes. These are going to go on the bottom. Once we get that on there, we're going to reinstall those 4 screws that we removed. You want to keep a hand on this thing the whole time so it doesn't fall out and crash to the floor. So since we can access all of our electrical connectors from inside of the engine bay, we're going to go ahead and just reinstall our bezels right now. So we're going to do the same thing for the other side, into those little notches and stay in place. So the next part of this step is going to be to plug these lights in and wire up for halos and turn signals. Now if you have a stock TJ, all of this wiring is going to be most likely inside of your fender. This Jeep clearly has modifications. It has aftermarket fenders and it has aftermarket LED lights. So most of our wiring is in the engine bay, but it's still going to be the same colors that I'm going to point out to you. So we're going to start here and we're going to use this harness that they give us in our kit. You're going to have this one end with these 3 wires and these little connectors. We're going to leave those alone for now. Right now we're going to take our 2 ends and we'll need to run each one to a light. So one's going to go to our passenger side, one's going to go to our driver's side. So we're going to start over here, pass that one over there, and then we're going to take the plug of our new light, we're going to plug that into our factory harness plug, and we're also going to plug this additional plug into there. So first we're going to plug in our factory harness. Then we're going to take this other secondary additional plug. We're going to go ahead and plug that into our new light. You're going to make sure that that goes all the way in and that it clicks. So this other one, we need to run it over to our driver's side. So factory harness is going to run underneath of our grill. So what we're going to do is try to match that, and then we'll zip tie all of that, run it over to the other side. So I'm going to drop it right down through here. If you can squeeze it through in a better spot, you can do so. And then we're going to follow this just under along the grill out to the other side. So then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to plug in our new headlight to that factory harness. And then we're going to take that other light, we're going to run this underneath of there, plug those 2 in. So with the stock TJ, you're going to have 2 lights. You'll have one in the front and one as a side marker light. We're going to pull the power from that side marker light. You're going to have 2 wires. One wire is going to be for your parking lights and the other one is going to be intermittent for your turn signal. This yellow wire is going to go to the turn signal. So on ours we had a tan wire, however you should use a wire probe or a test light to make sure that you have the correct wire when tapping into that. Now you're going to have a plug on your stock light, so you can use these vampire clips to tap into that. These are going to slide over that wire. You'll slide this new wire in, it's going to splice them together. Since our plug was already cut off, what we're going to do is just butt connect this wire to our harness. So like I said, we have a tan wire. This is our turn signal wire. So what we're going to do is just strip the end of this. Then we're going to take this wire and we're going to butt connect those 2 together. So we're going to trim a little bit off of this wire since it is pretty long. And we'll strip the end of this other wire. Now we're going to use butt connectors. Now with our butt connectors, we're using heat shrink butt connectors. That way we can make a nice tight seal and we won't get any water buildup in there that's going to corrode it. So we're going to attach it on our one side first. You want to make sure that that slides all the way into that. Also, you might want to twist the end so it goes in there a little better. So slide that all the way in, make sure it's all the way in, and then we're going to crimp that down. Next, we're going to attach it to this wire. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to insert that in there, make sure that it goes all the way in, and then we're going to crimp this other side. Make sure that they stay in there. And then we're going to move on to the next step. On the other end of this harness, we're going to have 3 wires. You're going to have a black wire, a red wire, and a yellow wire. For this particular install and for this TJ, we're not going to be using this yellow wire. This black wire is recommended to attach to the ground side, the black side, the negative side of the battery, and this red wire we're going to power into and tap into our parking lights. That's going to power up the white halos. So we're going to do that first. We've cut our end off and we've stripped this since we're going to butt connect it right into that wire, and actually our parking light wire is a black with a yellow trace. Once again, you should check with a test light to make sure that you have a constant 12 volt there for your parking light. So we're going to strip the end of this. We're going to twist those ends, and then we're going to butt connect these 2 together. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side with that yellow wire. So with all of that stuff wired up, the next thing we're going to do, since we are not using this yellow one here, we're going to fold that up and just electrical tape that out of the way. After that, and the last thing that we're going to do as far as connecting electrical stuff, we're going to attach our negative terminal to our negative side of our battery. So we're going to use an 11mm wrench to loosen this nut up. Now, depending on if your terminals have been replaced or anything like that, that size may vary. So we're going to loosen that up and then attach this electrical connector. So now that we have everything installed, the next thing you're going to do is just go around and zip tie up all that excess wiring. However, that's going to wrap up my review and install. For more videos like this, check us out at ExtremeTerrain.com.